Week 4 is done, so it's time for our power rankings, as well as when an illegal hit, not an illegal hit, when it's done by a Patriot. This week on the Snap UK. Welcome to the Snap UK podcast. My name is Johnny Thrash, and I'm here to welcome you back at our spiritual home, the Doghouse. With me this week, we have Gilo, Griff, and after a week missing due to some dubious helmet-to-helmet contact, Jimmy G. Most of the teams are a quarter way through the season, and now the rust has been shaken off, and the injury bug has started to bite. We have a reasonable idea of what is to come. With that in mind, we will follow our weekly review with the first of our podcast power rankings as we find out how low Griff is on the undefeated Pats, how high anyone can be on any of the teams led by a new QB. So, with that in mind, our first game is Monday Night Football and the Mason Rudolph-led Steelers blowing away the Bengals 27-3 at Heinz Field. A first win for the post-Roethlisberger Pittsburgh, and finally some success in the running game, but oh boy, were the Bengals bad. They fought 0-4 for the first time since 2008. What do we make of these two?
Well, the Bengals are really bad.
Yeah, they're justifying my preseason selection of saying that they're going to finish with a top 3 pick in the draft. Yep. They don't seem to have an identity apart from, they're the Bengals. There didn't seem to be any idea. At one point, they were 24 points behind, and it was something like 3rd and 15, and they still ran. It was still another running play because every time they tried to throw the ball, they ended up losing yardage.
But even when they run it, they're not running it well. That offensive line is terrible. Joe Mixon's got 3.2 yards per attempt. Before last night, it was 2.7 yards, so he's made a bit of an improvement, but still, it's not amazing. The offensive line now, Andy Dalton's been sacked 19 times so far this season.
Last night was a career high for a single game, 8 sacks.
If he carries on at that rate, it's going to be 76 times by the end of the year.
Oh.
And that just shows kind of how bad that line is. I know, last night was an anomaly, but the Steelers haven't had a great pass rush. It's been okay. It's been all right, but it's
getting better.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not what we'd call one of the elite pass rushers that we've seen in other teams like the Buffalo Bills. The annoying thing about the Bengals is they're inconsistent. They gave the Seahawks a decent game. They got thrashed by the Niners. Then they gave the Bills a decent game, and now they've been thrashed by the Steelers.
Yeah, there looks like there should be some pieces there, but nobody's doing anything with them. They're just being thrown out on the field and told to go play ball, and it's not working. Bobby Hart on the offensive line, the right tackle, is possibly the weakest of all the O-linemen, and they gave him I think a 3-year, $16 million contract extension at the start of this year, and I can't for the life of me see why. It would be like extending Eric Flowers, for instance. This guy is awful and
turnstile.
He just doesn't block anybody at all. It's pretty terrible. Dalton isn't the problem. I sat and watched this game last night because I had to work all night long, so I sat there watching the game while I was at work, and Dalton isn't the problem. He gets approximately 1 second in the pocket. That is, unless you are Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, you don't have time to diagnose what's going on in that 1 second.
Even those two would struggle with.
Of course they would.
That time limit.
There's nothing there. They've fallen out of their last 13 games without AJ Green. They're 1-12.
I don't even think. I mean, I think that injury to AJ Green is probably more serious than we think. I think he could be out for the whole of the season. I just want to see the Bengals have a plan. I don't know. I can't see how they're trying to play at the moment. Like you say, the running game's pretty terrible. The quarterback isn't.
Here comes the
Here
voice.
he comes. I'm waiting for.
I
can see him winding up.
Well, no,
I've
just been listening. Sometimes I get accused of, not caring about your opinions. So I thought I'd listen for a change. That's just true. So I think the AJ Green injury is a massive issue.
It is,
and I think if the Falcons are terrible anyway. We'll come on to them. But if you took Julio out of that team, it would change it as well. I think tight end, Eifert looked like he was going to be a great player. He's doing okay coming back from injury, but he's never quite been the same. I think that's been an issue for him. So I think teams know that they can bring blitz quite easily No, John Ross had a couple of good games at the start of the season, but that was against some slightly poorer defences. And I think that's been a big miss. I don't think they've got that go-to player now on offence. Mixon's trying to pick it up, but behind him there's Gio Bernard. There's not much behind him. So Mixon's coming back from injury last year. I think Mixon's a decent player. I just think that offence is quite easy to read, and that's a real problem.
I think he's a decent player, and like you say, I think they have got some decent receivers. John Ross has proved he's decent this year, like you say. But if there's no time for Dalton to throw the ball, and Mixon can't get any holes to run through, then there's no chance.
I do also think that Dalton's had 8-9 years with this team now. I think it may well be the end of Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
If they're drafting in the top 3, they could take the quarterback.
They very much look like they will be.
I
can see that happening as well.
We could start to signal the end of Dalton. How old is he now? He's early 30s.
Yeah, he's not amazingly old in quarterback rankings, in quarterback terms, but
he's not delivered anything, has he?
No, he's 31.
Yeah, so.
But he's never. You're right. He's never done anything. He's not ever been a stellar quarterback.
I think you could see a new head coach and a new quarterback there next year.
I'm fairly sure the head coach will get a stay of execution, but I think we're looking at a new quarterback. I did say before the draft, I really thought, in fact, I said to Jim on the night, I can't believe the Bengals won't take a quarterback in the first couple of rounds. And I think it was round 3 when they took
somebody.
Yeah, I want to say Ryan Lindley, but it's Findley. And he's, college stats very good. There's a lot of positive talk about him. I think we're going to see him in the course of this season. I think Dalton's going to get pulled out of the team for a number of games. Not necessarily because of his play, but literally because they need to know, do we have the guy on the roster, or are we spending a top 3
pick? I
pick?
think this game cemented more the fact that the Bengals, are just poor, really poor in most facets of the game, especially away. They might be slightly more competitive at home, but I think they're just poor than it does about the Steelers. I don't think it tells you a lot, really. I think Juju didn't have a great game. He didn't really do too much. James Conner turned up, but again, is that just because the Bengals' defense are poor?
Well, I think you're right. I think the Bengals' defense are poor. They didn't get any sacks on Mason Rudolph at all. But I do think that the scheme that Pittsburgh put in place for Mason Rudolph was much, much better. Like, he's got a lot of short passes. They started playing the Wildcat with Jalen Samuels, and
which
that worked.
Really effective.
Yeah,
Samuels. I've not seen him play this well.
They got 2 or 3 decent yardage, a couple of touchdowns off the back of it. Because
the
Bengals just didn't know what to do. They didn't know whether he was going to run it, pass it.
This is the problem with the Bengals. For years, they were an average offense with a above-average defense, and now the defense is as bad as the offense is tepid. It's just there's nothing good to point to and say, right, that's what you're building on. At least with teams like the Giants, you can say, right, they've built on the offense now. You can name 3 or 4 players on the offense who are stars for that team for 3 or 4 years going forward, and now they need to fix the defense. But there's nothing on this Bengals
team. Do we think the Steelers just like playing up Monday nights at home?
Yeah,
they've won the last 17 Monday night games at home.
When was the last time they lost one? It was
about 5 years ago, I would guess.
No, more than that.
7 years ago?
I don't know.
Long time.
Unless that stats on the piece of paper in front of me, I'm not going to be able to tell you.
Well, I thought the last time the Bengals beat the Steelers in prime time was on Monday night. Sorry, it was 1995. That's a long time ago. I think that's what they were saying last night. The Steelers don't tend to lose in these big prime time games. And Andy Dalton, a bit like Kirk Cousins, who we'll come on to later, is just not built for the big stage.
Yeah.
He will be a backup after he leaves.
Bitching about Cousins.
You wait till page 3 of your rundown.
There's going to be a lot there. But anyway, talking about quarterback, Mason Rudolph had a decent game here. 24 completions off 28 attempts, 229 yards, and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Don't want to hear about it till he plays a proper team.
Well, yeah, I mean that's fair, but. True. Again, the scheme worked for him, and that's what a good coaching team does.
I was impressed by the adjustments from the previous game. He was getting the completions, he was picking up what was available, and he got the running game going, which the team as a whole hadn't done up till this point. So, whilst it's a scheme result as opposed to him playing really well, if they can do this and split the rest of the season, that will look like a decent result for a team that lost its star quarterback.
Yeah, look, at the start of the season, I was quite big on the Steelers. I thought they'd added some good pieces. They'd lost Brown and Bell, but I thought Ben was talented enough to take them into the playoffs, and I thought we were going to see that at least one more time out of him. But I think losing all. I agree with John now. Losing those three, any team to try and cope with losing all three of those players just makes it very difficult. I'm sure they will improve as the season goes on and they find new ways to play with that quarterback, but I don't think it'll be enough.
32-11 the Steelers are on Monday Night Football. Back to the 70s. So doing fairly well on a Monday. Not like
decent.
me. I'm not that good at work on a Monday. I mean, all in all, like Gary says, you can't take much from the fact that this team were playing the Bengals, but at least the Steelers have got their season going. They've given themselves an outside shot, and if Mason Rudolph continues to progress, at least they can see what they've got for the future.
Well, you look at that division as well. The Ravens are
They're one game back.
The Ravens are 2-2. Yeah, so
And they play the Ravens,
There's a
Ravens this
possibility.
weekend.
I can't at the moment. I still can't see them beating either the Ravens or the Browns, but there's a chance there.
Yeah, they're giving.
They're not
themselves
out of
some
it by
hope.
any chance.
Not yet. On the other hand, the Bengals are out of
Yes.
everything, apart from contention for the number one pick.
And I don't think they'll win that.
No, it seems unlikely. While we're talking about teams in contention for number one, there are now several teams who are 0-4. Obviously, the Dolphins, who went down 30-10 against the Chargers. They were actually ahead.
Yeah,
They were
first
ahead
time this
for
season.
the first time this season, and then they threw it all away in a horrific Dolphin-y fashion.
That's what they do, though.
Rosen doesn't look terrible. He doesn't.
He isn't terrible, though.
He looks okay. And if he continues to look okay, maybe they actually get a player that isn't a quarterback in the draft. Maybe they don't need to spend the number.
Oh,
one.
they're not going for another quarterback. No way.
Oh, I don't know. I think their original plan was to do that. But if Rosen plays well, they won't have to.
I think Rosen's good enough. I think new head coach went a new direction with the Cardinals, but I know Rosen had a terrible year, but in a really, really terrible team. So I think the Dolphins have traded quite well there actually, and I don't think they need another quarterback.
I can't see them not taking a quarterback with the first pick of the draft.
And I'm now completely on the fence because I absolutely thought they would, and then he's not. I
agree.
Better
I agree.
in this team.
He has looked better, but there is absolutely there's no way
Imagine
the
if
Dolphins
they don't draft, and then 3 years down the line, Rosen's a bust, and they've missed out on this 4 or 5 crop of star players.
It's
and
going to be Tua for 2 reasons. A, he's a good quarterback, but I think the Dolphins have got rid of all their stars. They need to start building a franchise with potential people to fill the stands. Did you see the stands at the Dolphins?
Yeah, all I could see was the stands.
Yeah. It was like watching the International Athletics at Doha the other night. It was completely
next
empty.
year, they'll all be able to go and watch David Beckham's football team, won't they?
Yeah, they'll probably get more people to that than they will a Dolphins game if they don't draft a star quarterback.
Yeah, there's definitely it's given them something to think about, but I think
they've got 3 picks now in the first round, so they can get a quarterback, they can get a new left tackle, and they can get a star wide receiver or a star defensive player. Well, that's where they'll go,
and they'll still be rubbish because they need so
will
many
be.
things.
I tell you what, though, at least I've been thinking about this over the last couple of days. At least they've got a plan. Like they have got a plan this season to tank and pick the first and get number 1 in the draft. I can't see what's happening at the Redskins at the moment. There seems to be
injuries.
Well, there's injuries
and more injuries.
But then there seems to be conflict between the front office and the coaching staff about whether Haskins plays or doesn't play. They put him in. He didn't look ready to play. He hasn't looked like
he said himself he wasn't ready to play.
And so if you've got to play, what was he, his second quarter he came in?
Yeah.
If the idea is to bring him into the game, he should have had all the reps in practice the week before. And Case Keenum should have been,
So Case Keenum left the ground in a walking boot, and by all accounts, he was injured in the week before.
Exactly.
Now, I don't think he was pulled out of this game because of that. I think Jay Gruden decided he's not playing very well. I'm taking him out. Because I don't think they would have started him if they thought he was injured. So I don't think that's the reason he was taken out. They want to see what they've got in Haskins, and they wanted to see how he compared against Daniel Jones.
I've got absolutely nothing wrong, nothing against them wanting to see what they have in Haskins, but I just think they've gone about it in completely the wrong way. They've thrown him into the fire. He obviously wasn't ready. He's had a pretty terrible game. That's just going to, and then the coach comes out and knocks his confidence even more. The coach didn't come out and say, "Do you know what? We're sticking with him. We've got to get better on the coach. We've got to get better on the training. We've got training field. We've got to get better in the game." He basically came out and threw Haskins under the bus. That's going to do nothing for the boys' confidence.
So, I mean, for the record, they lost 24-3 to the Giants. It's the first time the
rejuvenated Giants.
Yeah, first time the Giants have held an opponent to 3 points for 5 years.
First time we've been at least 500 since 2016.
Wow. Which, So maybe your plan is working because your team looks okay. Your defence is awful, but as long as you're outscoring people, you'll be all right. Haskins, like you say, came in, he threw 3 picks and picked up about 100 yards, maybe. It wasn't good. They don't have anything on their
107
team.
yards.
I'm sorry, I've done him a massive disservice. It's a bit like the Bengals. There are no stars on that team whatsoever.
No, and the only star they've got is Adrian Peterson, and he's over the hill.
Yeah, you can't. John and I were saying on the way here, the discussion is who plays quarterback for the Redskins next week against the Patriots.
Haskins.
And he gets killed.
Yeah.
Who
Well,
cares?
they've buggered up the
Got
Trent.
to learn the hard way, haven't you?
Front office
I
is
said
also
this to John, you got to put him if he performs better than he did or the same as the Giants. At least he can say I'm doing my best.
If you just got to put an arm around the kid and say,
Well, yeah,
look,
exactly.
we think you're not going to, it's not on you. This isn't on you. Just go out there, learn.
Yeah, but at the moment they're just putting a noose around the kid.
Well,
It's
if
terrible.
they're going to play
That's the kind of
Haskins,
stuff that happens.
if they're going to play
in certain parts
Haskins,
of America.
they've got the front office have to get on their knees and beg Trent Williams to come back because behind that offensive line against New England, he's going to get destroyed again.
Yeah, well, we were also discussing the absence of Trent Williams on the way over here, and we commented that he's been replaced by the aforementioned Eric Flowers, which
brilliant.
Which I said would be like replacing Stephen Hawking with me, and John said it's like replacing Trent Williams with Stephen Hawking, which is about the same level of competitive ability that we're getting.
Yeah.
Haskins has got no chance. I think now that they've put him in, they have to stick with him, but it's the wrong decision. They should have played Colt McCoy if they didn't want to play Case Keenum. This is too early. He's not ready, and it's not. You're not going to see.
How is Colt McCoy from his injury? Because obviously he broke his leg last year as well.
He
didn't
has
he?
recovered.
To be fair, against the Patriots, he'll probably break his leg again.
That's it. They're just going to. Whoever is there, you wouldn't even be surprised if all three of
He
them
had
end up playing.
complications over the summer, didn't he? It wasn't like a simple leg break he's had. It's been quite complicated. He's had surgery, so I'm sure.
He's been taking reps in practice.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd just play Haskins. Get on with it.
I'll play Haskins.
Is what it is.
I think that's what's
If you
gonna
want to
happen
put
anyway.
Keenan back in after 2 or 3 games, if he's fit again, just say to Haskins, look, go out and give it a go for a couple of games.
It's not even a
Learn
matter
from
of who's going to help them most to win against the Patriots.
Because they're not going to win anyway.
No, but it's the only argument against not playing Haskins is how much do you want to damage this kid? Look at Rosen. Rosen's confidence taking a massive hit, and look at him now. He doesn't look like he's progressed at all. Danny Dimes is playing okay because he hit the ground running and immediately was better than the previous quarterback that he replaced. So his confidence is up. You can't say the same about Haskins.
What if he throws for 2 touchdowns, 180 yards, 1 pick, and they still lose 40 points to 20?
Then I'd say that's a brilliant game from
Well,
Dwayne
yeah,
Haskins.
exactly.
So
Well,
what if he
just
throws
chuck him
3
in.
more or 4 more interceptions and gets taken out of the game because
Which is more likely when you're playing the Patriots.
he's
They've got the
ineffective.
best defense in the
So
league.
I don't think it's a 50-50. This is not a coin flip. The chances are he's going to be awful.
What's the chance Jay Gruden's in charge next year anyway? So it'll be a new.
I'll be impressed if Jay Gruden's in charge the week after next.
Yeah. And if I were Jay Gruden, I'd just be walking away. Just walk out. The owner doesn't want him there.
No.
I don't understand the relationship there.
Like
at
I
all.
said,
It's pretty bad.
the Redskins have to just reset everything because they're going nowhere. They've been going nowhere for the last 5 years, probably
Well,
more.
last year,
They started off
under
well.
Alex
They
Smith-
were winning that division.
I haven't finished my point yet. So last year,
No, but I finished it for you.
their defense improved massively. Yeah, their defense was in the top half of the league. Yeah, on lots of stats. But then they've had a few injuries. The defense has spent too long on the field this year because
they've got no running game
and they've got
whatsoever.
no running game, and it's made it very difficult. So I think the defense was where they were putting all their eggs, and obviously they had Alex Smith to control the clock and to have a pretty average
decent.
offense.
I mean, Alex Smith is a
And
decent
last
game
year,
manager, like we
before
said.
he got injured, they were kind of at like
They were top of the
500,
division.
weren't
Do you
they?
know
They're
how
above it.
Do you know how many rushing yards the Redskins have had so far this year?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going
200.
to say 4.
You're close. 199.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't many. The line can't move anybody, can't block anybody. It's pathetic. We ought to touch on the final of the 0-4 teams. It's the Broncos. They went down 24-26 to Minshew Mania and the Jags.
I think they're the unluckiest of the
They are
0-4 teams.
the unluckiest. They've
Because-
lost Bradley Chubb for the season.
Yeah,
now.
and that's a
He
massive
played
loss.
the fourth quarter with a torn ACL and
Partially
got a sack.
torn.
Oh, partially torn. I'm sorry,
Jim's giving him no respect.
Mr. Half Marathon over there. So you do the other half with a
He could
partially
only
torn.
half tear an ACL.
I mean, this is It's
I mean,
incredible how athletic he's got to
they're
be.
two
watched-
kicks away from being 2-2.
I watched Kieran Dyer
score.
score a goal with a broken leg. So
That is very niche.
so yeah,
Just seeing Kieran Dyer score a goal.
yeah, exactly.
Is
Yeah,
impressive.
but yeah, with a broken leg, it's sort of dragged up the field. It's incredible. So,
I
yeah.
think I agree with Jim entirely. Flacco is not. He's not.
It's not terrible.
He's not terrible. He throws some terrible interceptions, but actually he marches the team up and down the field. It's only when they get to the red zone they're completely ineffective. And all right, they've started generating something on defence now, but they've lost Bradley Chubb, which is going to be huge because now Von Miller is going to be easier to block.
Yep.
I still have some faith in the fact that Fangio will get it corrected, but now to lose a star player like that on a team so devoid of talent in many areas is massive. The Jags, though, getting it done to a degree in the face of a lot of adversity. The Ramsey problem and what's he
Fournette
claiming now? He's got
turned up, didn't he?
Fournette
Yeah.
did finally turn up.
It's only taken about
Yeah.
9 months, but
He completely turned up. What was it? 225 yards.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a lot of yards.
If he can get fit again and hungry, he just doesn't seem to have a.
I think he's been hungry a lot.
Well, no, but that's why I said he needs to get fit again, but hungry in the right way. But because when he broke on the scene, he was amazing. I thought he was a great player.
Yeah.
He's a beast, and he just seems to have he had a few moments at the end of last season, didn't he? Where obviously then it looked like he might leave the Jags, and just seems to have lost his love for the game a little bit. He just needs to get it back. He could be a great player, and they need him because they've got nothing at wide receiver.
The last time I saw him
I don't know
run,
about-
You like Shark, do you?
I think DJ Shark is looking.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think he's looking really good. I genuinely think he's a complete deep threat. He's 6'4". He's got pace. He seems to be able to pluck the ball out of the air, which is just what you want.
Yeah, quick shout for Gardner Minshew. I'm not entirely on board with the Minshew mania, but 7 touchdowns to 1 interception this season.
I mean,
What
yeah.
more
Not
can he ask to do?
Not giving the ball
meme
away.
of Gardner Minshew.
It's bad.
Oh, there
I'm
are
gonna lose
a
my
lot.
shit.
it's Fitzmagic-esque from last season.
It is a bit, isn't it?
He is only averaging about 210 yards a game.
Just because he looks like someone from the village, people. I just don't get it.
But my point there being that as long as the
Uncle
defense is
Rico
good enough,
from
Defense
Napoleon
is
Dynamite.
still good. Back to the Broncos, though. I'm just looking at their schedule, and I'm not sure where they're going to get a win from. So this rest of their schedule at the Chargers, probably lose that based on how they're going.
I don't know, the Chargers are so up and down.
Yeah, versus Titans. Titans is again a team that's either good or bad. You never really know.
See, for me, they're 2 coin flip games right out the gate. So
But-
I reckon
so if
they
you
win one
lose
of them.
both of those, then you got the Chiefs,
Yeah,
Colts,
yeah.
Browns, Vikings, Bills, Chargers again, Texans, Chiefs, Lions, Raiders.
There's 4 or 5 wins in there for me if they get it corrected. I don't think you can continue to be so unlucky. I
True.
really don't. So I say 4 or 5 wins. Now that puts them way behind. I thought they'd be at least 8-8 this season. I thought they could sneak to the playoffs if the defense was brilliant. But
The defense, unfortunately, is not brilliant yet.
And Flacco's going to Flacco.
Not without Chubb.
Yeah.
and then what do? Because anything you hear about Drew Lock is less than positive. So then they're picking another quarterback because you can't stick with Flacco again.
I don't think they will pick a quarterback. I think they will go with Drew Lock.
They're not picking another quarterback.
No.
Well, then we'll be talking about him getting the number 1 pick for the year after, I suspect, because he's never going to be good enough in the NFL. Just isn't going to happen.
Well, shall we go travel from Monday night to Thursday night, where Eagles travelled to Green Bay and stopped the Packers despite a great showing from Rodgers. This is the Eagles playing the way we expected, but should Packers fans be concerned by their play calling when they had chances to win?
Yeah, so 7 plays in the red zone at the end of the game, and they did not allow Aaron Rodgers to run with the ball himself or throw a pass, despite the fact that even Jimmy Graham was looking competitive on the night. It almost seemed like they were determined to run the ball in. Safety first, run the ball in, run the ball in, run the ball in. Almost like they were scripting Rodgers out of the game in the red zone. And as much as I think he needs to be coached and he needs to stick to the plan, there's a reason why people talk about Aaron Rodgers the way they do, and it's because in those big moments, game-clinching moments, what we, as a Patriots fan, would call the Brady moments, you just let him do whatever it is that he needs to do to win you the
Brady
game.
moments. That sounds like a terrible horror film or something.
Sounds like a
terrible
Brady
kid show.
Bunch spin-off.
Oh, it's awful. I don't like that saying. But
Fair enough.
But Aaron Rodgers, I think there's issues. I think there's issues brewing between him and that coach.
Yep.
You see the way they sat him on the sideline. It doesn't look cordial.
There doesn't look a lot of respect there, does there?
No, I don't think there's any. I don't think he thinks the coach has got any credibility whatsoever.
I was amazed when it came out that he wasn't consulted about that coaching hiring.
I think he
Because
looks at him with disdain.
As much as we berate him, he is. You have to build your team around him because he is a good player. I know we joked about him being a game manager last year, but he is a top 5 quarterback.
And you're throwing the bank at him.
Yeah, and you're paying him a lot. So you've got to then, if you're bringing in a new coach, you've got to give him the option to say yes or no, like other young quarterbacks have, like Goff and Trubisky. Why wasn't Aaron Rodgers given a say in what was going on?
It seems negligent, doesn't it, to not allow him to at least express an opinion. However, it also seems the move of a franchise that has decided Aaron Rodgers cannot be allowed to dictate everything going forward, and that he needs to conform to whatever it is that is chosen for the team. I'm still not sold on Matt LaFleur, but the team have done well enough. I'm surprised they lost this game. The Eagles' secondary is awful, but at least the defence turned up for big stops. And this is the first time this season Carson Wentz delivered without... There were no massive hype numbers, but it was all very much incisive passing. Get down the field. He got the running backs going with the RPOs at the right time, and not just one running back either. It was Howard and Saunders both contributed.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen anything out of the running game so far this season for the Eagles. I think that's made a big difference. On
For
the other
fantasy owners, that was a lot of points on your bench.
Yeah, it's all right. Paul still beat me. It's fine. On the other side, though, the Packers didn't get the rushing game going at all. Aaron Jones, 13 carries for 21 yards, and he's been decent so far this year. You know, Aaron Rodgers had more rushing yards, 46, than Jones. So they asked Rodgers to throw 53 times.
Aaron Jones does not run for yards. Me and Paul argued about this last week. He doesn't. He runs in touchdowns. That's what he does.
Well, he got one.
Who's the other running back? Williams?
Yes, Jamal Williams.
Was he not out in the first series of the game?
Well, he hasn't got any stats.
Yeah, I think that affected them because he does the chewing up of the yards, if you like, that Aaron Jones doesn't do, supposedly. Fair enough.
He doesn't.
No,
look at the
it's
stats.
Fair enough. But now without him there to chew up the yards, they didn't seem to have anything going.
I think that's been one of the big gaps in Green Bay for
years.
5 years. They just
since Eddie Lacy was good.
Since Eddie Lacy was good for 2 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when they were a really competitive team, because I just think it puts too much pressure on Rodgers, and it probably gives him a bit too much power as well, because it all has to go through him. So I think it's a problem, one they haven't addressed properly.
No.
Yeah, I still think Green Bay have the chance to be so good this season when it all clicks, but it isn't yet.
Well, the thing that is clicking is the defense.
Yeah,
Like,
it seems
far
to be.
much improved. Even though they lost Clay Matthews, didn't they? This year?
Yeah, it's a completely different unit.
I don't think that was a big loss, because the way they wanted to use him, he wasn't athletic enough anymore. He's actually playing really well. Is he at the Rams now? He's playing really well.
Playing really well. I think he's a good player.
But they use him different. They don't expect him to cover so much ground, and so his reach, if you like, his sphere of influence, whilst it's limited, he's able to cover that and stop people. So what they wanted out of him is different at the Rams compared to Green Bay, and it's working for him, and it's actually allowed the defence in Green Bay to make some progress. They're not anchored to the past.
And they bought a pass rush as well. They bought Preston. On the free agency, they brought in Preston Smith
Yep.
and Darius Smith. They're getting results, and they drafted well last year in terms of the cornerback. Jair Alexander's had a decent game. There's another Darnell Savage this year, who's looking like a decent player as well. So they've drafted and brought in decent free agents for that defense. It's working. They just need that offense to click.
Which of these two defenses would you rather have right now, the Eagles or the Packers?
Probably the Packers.
I don't know. I think I'd still take the Eagles.
I think I'd still take the Eagles as well.
Just because of the line.
Well,
I
they got,
think
a,
the
lo-
offensive lines-
they got
the
a lot of
defensive lines
injuries
better.
at the moment.
On what
If you could
team
mix
was
the two together, they'd be amazing.
Yep.
on what team was available on Thursday, I'd go with the Packers. But I think if you've got a fully fit Eagles, I'd have the Eagles.
The Eagles' backfield is decimated at the
Yeah,
moment.
the secondary is definitely second level as opposed to grade A. But I still think in terms of a pass rush, I'd still want to take the Eagles. Now that then leads you to what's more important. Is it coverage or pass rush? What do you think? Because the stats now are trending towards coverage and away from pass rush.
Well, if you've got a decent pass rush, you don't need to have brilliant coverage.
But if you've got brilliant coverage, it doesn't matter if you're putting pressure on the quarterback.
I don't know. I think if you've got brilliant coverage, you can still play the running game against you and chew up yards that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I think a pass rush is always going to be more important than coverage.
Yeah. So I agree. If the teams are fully fit, I would take the Eagles, I think, just because the pass rush looks better.
I don't think Fletcher Cox has looked as good so far this year as he has
No.
in previous years. He's a different player. I think now
By different, do you mean older?
Yeah, hold on. And the Packers have got a pass rush now, and they've got a decent backfield. Maybe a middle linebacker, and they'd have probably one of the top 5 defenses in the league.
Okay, so did anyone think the Browns would handle the Ravens so easily on Sunday?
Nope.
Nick Chubb lit the Ravens on fire for 165 yards and 3
Called
touchdowns.
the RSPCA or RSPB, I suppose.
Wow. He's dropping in RSPB references now.
Oh, because it's a bird.
I see, yes. Yeah. It is.
Oh, I get it now.
Moving on.
But
I
yeah,
was going to bring the humour.
the Browns
Let us know when he
distributed.
gets
The Browns were good, didn't?
Sorry, John.
There's a lot of ball distribution all around the team without really including Odell Beckham.
No, Odell Beckham was very quiet. Lamar took a step back and
First
faced.
decent defense.
Yeah.
First decent defense that Lamar has faced, and regressing towards the mean. I don't think it makes him a bad quarterback. It just means that he's not the finished article still, which we already knew. So it was disappointing, but it wasn't unexpected. Let's be honest. His stats have been slightly overinflated due to the opposition. They'd faced the 32nd, 31st, and 30th ranked defenses in their first 3 games, I think.
Yeah, so they've had the Dolphins and the Cardinals, both who are
Who was the other one?
winless. The Chiefs.
Yeah, who also aren't brilliant.
Aren't brilliant. There's
So
not-
what's their win record now under Lamar? Is it 50-50 so far this year?
Again, somebody switch his microphone off. No, it is this year, but in total, he's actually still way above 500. I think I have some concerns still about the Browns. This does not right the ship for me. It's a very good performance. Baker Mayfield still not really doing what I think he should be
he
doing.
was much better. He had a completion rate of 66%. And to be fair to him, after the game where he was interviewed, someone said, was the play calling better this week? And he came out and said, no, the quarterback was better this week. He basically said he was shit last week, which we all agree with.
He also dumped on Rex Ryan, who had called him not as good as he should have been in the week. Basically called him out for not being good enough. And someone interviewed him and
I think
asked
he
him...
knows that.
Someone asked him what credit Rex Ryan should get for inspiring his performance, and he said none. Rex Ryan doesn't play for the Browns, so he gets no credit at all, which is also very fair.
I think it's fair.
I think Beckham helped him out a bit this week, though. They finally started targeting him a little bit more, didn't they? And made some good catches.
Made
but
2 catches.
He made 2 catches for 20 yards. At most, he was a distraction. For
Jarvis
the defense.
Landry, on the other hand, had
Jarvis Landry had a huge game.
167 yards.
124 of those yards were after the catch as well. So if they're playing, we've said before, the Browns' offensive line is probably worse than the Redskins' offensive line. So then you've got a scheme for short throws, and that's exactly, you've got the receivers in Beckham and Jarvis Landry to be able to throw it to him in short yardage situations, and then they're going to make yards, and so they're going to get first downs. And in Nick Chubb, you've got a really good running back.
Yeah, really good is underselling it. I think this was a dominant performance. Was it an 88-yard touchdown run?
He'd had a quiet start to the season before this, though, hadn't he?
Yeah, they've been struggling because of the O-line, which is what we said all along. But I think this could be the breakout game for him for the season. And what they should do
I hope not.
is lean on the running game and just allow Baker to throw when he has to. I don't need to see flashy numbers out of Baker Mayfield. I know that, all right, in this game, he completed 20 of 30. I would suggest that in games where he has to throw the ball more than 30 times, I bet you he doesn't win very many. I bet you they're under 500 with him in games where he throws more than 30 passes, because there's just more opportunities for him to make mistakes. And he's going to try too hard. If he thinks the game's all on him, he is one of those players that will just keep throwing the ball.
So that's what you say. The last few games, he's been looking for that, wow play, the 50, 60-yard bomb, and he's not that type of quarterback. He never was at Oklahoma. He's a short yardage, accurate quarterback. That was one of the great things about him in college was his accuracy. And if you give him those short targets, Ricky Seals-Jones also had another great game, 3 receptions, 82 yards,
Yeah,
and a
they're not
touchdown.
missing the count at all, are they?
No, but it's a scheme which makes any tight end would do well in that system. So keep doing that, and hopefully they'll lose the next game, but then they can carry on and win a few.
What do we think? Is Harbaugh going to be able to get this Ravens defence righted? Because this is the worst 4-game stretch for giving up over 300 yards that the Ravens have had in 6 years.
So we said it just now that the pass rush was important. They got to Baker Mayfield once. 1 sack on Mayfield against that offensive line is not good enough. The Ravens used to have a really good pass rush, and they used to have a really good middle linebacker in CJ Mosley, and they haven't got that now. They need to draft on defense next year before this team will go anywhere.
Okay. So, with regards to, we've already mentioned the Steelers and the Bengals, the AFC North. Who I thought at the start of the season we were going to see 2 teams coming out of this, so a wild card as well as a division winner. I'm definitely not sold on that anymore. But has anyone actually given you any reason to pick them as the division winner yet? We know the Bengals won't win it.
Well, I think we all said last week that the Ravens were going to run away with this division, didn't we?
It looked like it. And now, are you still of that opinion, or do you think that the Browns... Because Browns now have advantage, technically.
I mean, that's a statement win for the Browns. I still think 2 teams could come out of this division, because I think below the Chiefs and the Patriots, the AFC is really mixed up at the moment. There's a lot of 2-2 teams. So either one of these teams can make a proper effort to get into the playoffs. I can't see the Steelers getting there, and the Bengals are the Bengals.
And the Browns' defence, you think good enough to carry the team the rest of the way?
Absolutely.
Oh, good, yeah.
I mean, they are putting up some serious numbers, and I think they got overlooked slightly because of the way the team seemed to be built around the offence.
Yeah, but they went out and bought the offense, didn't they? Whereas they drafted the defense.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So it was always going to take 2 or 3 years to come to fruition, I'd say.
Yeah, that seems like a fair comment. Speaking of teams with great defences, the Bills and the Patriots battled out, what was, from a defensive standpoint, a very good game, but something you were watching. It wasn't overly entertaining. 16-10.
I enjoy a bit of good defence.
Yeah,
I do as well.
16-10 in favour of the Patriots. The key thing here was the Bills had the chance to win. They had Brady throwing at his lowest yards per attempt.
He had a terrible game.
Yeah,
he
he did.
was awful.
Well, at one point I asked if he was still playing when he had 3 points in fantasy.
It was his lowest yards per attempt and completion in a win since his debut season. Basically, they had to rely on everything else: the defense, a bit of the running game, everything else except Brady.
Illegal hits on the opposition.
That's never an illegal hit in a million years.
Bloody
Oh, it was.
It was an illegal hit. He got called up for a penalty.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not, you're going to say we're going to get to the Burfict later, but you're going to say it's the same level. And
It's not the same level as the Burfict.
He was the fact that
Did knock out the quarterback.
Yeah.
Out cold.
It was,
Which
and he
was
did lean into it with his head.
I'm not saying it's as intentional as Burfict. He led with the head. It was
should have been ejected from the
at
game.
best clumsy. Yeah, but it wasn't. It was poor.
More.
It was poor.
I could not disagree more. I'm disgusted with
It
you
was
weak-minded
filth.
individuals.
It was filth. He should have been
The
ejected.
He should have been
quarterback
ejected from
was
the game.
running.
In fact, I'd probably ban him for the rest of the season.
The quarterback lowered his head himself,
Yeah.
and the quarterback was tackled by another player, which forced him into
His head.
the cornerback. So I think the combination of all those things made it a lot worse than it would have been had there not been another tackle.
No, should have been
Josh
sent off.
Allen runs like a running back. He would have mowed that guy over given the opportunity. And this is what Brady was saying. Brady came out and said, the people complaining, they're saying, if Micah Hyde hits Brady the same way, Hyde's ejected.
He would have
Brady said, no one hits me like that because I learned very early, you stay in the pocket or you drop yourself to the floor. And therefore, they're not comparable. He said Josh Allen needs to learn.
Brady says, because he's not a referee. He might think
But this is why his opinion holds sway with the league, because he actually talks a lot of sense.
No, he doesn't.
He moaned. What was it last week? He moaned about too many flags, and like the following weekend, there were hardly any flags on offensive holding. Just saying.
So, like I say, he has sway because he talks sense.
Most of the
Not
time.
there.
But not it was a dirty hit.
It was a dirty hit.
And that's why it was called up for a penalty, and he should have been ejected from the game.
I think you're so weak-minded, a lot of you. I really do.
I think you're
I
biased.
like with his head.
But how often do I come on here and defend anything the Patriots
He
do?
led with his head. I'm sorry.
But he wouldn't have hit the running back in the head if the running back hadn't been pushed by someone else.
Doesn't matter. He led with his head.
It was just a poor. It was a
poor
tackle.
I just don't agree.
He didn't go in with the shoulder. The head was there
the shoulder
first.
would have made contact if Allen hadn't been pushed by the other defender.
Well, if then he hits him with his head in his chest, it's just a poor tackle.
Yeah. Either way, he led with his head.
It was bad,
and that's been banned. You can't do it.
Obviously, the officials don't agree with you. They agree with me.
Well, they did agree with us
They didn't eject him. You're saying he should have been ejected. It was never ejectable.
Yes,
it can be a penalty all day, but it's not ejectable.
We've seen them eject. We've seen him eject. We saw another one ejected, and yes, that was worse. I grant you. And but
we will get on to perfect
anyway.
But
I'm quite enjoying this.
I've been waiting for it because I knew it was coming, and I just think the whole league is. We were told 2 years ago they're changing the way players are going to tackle, especially quarterbacks, because too many quarterbacks get injured. This year, more quarterbacks have been injured in the first 4 weeks than over the last 5 seasons. And yet we've got all these rules in to protect them. They get injured anyway. It's part of the game. Let people play. They know that they're there for a physical sport. Let them get on with it. I like to see that. I like to see Vontez Burfict mowing people over. All right, this was egregious. No, this was egregious. But I get the entertainment value. When he was at the Bengals and every other week he was trying to kill someone, I would turn on to watch that.
I'm not denying the fact that big hits are insane. You've seen how I played football for God knows how many years.
You were never that vicious.
Yeah.
Clumsy, but not vicious.
I enjoy the physical nature of the game, but there are rules that you can't lean with your head because it's there to protect the person who's being tackled. It's also there to protect the tackler as well. They're going to get as many head injuries. It's not just concussion. It's actually the continual impact on your head, which causes things like CTE. That's why they're trying to ban it. That's why they're trying to make tackling technique that much better. And it's the same in rugby, the same in other sports where you're making those types of tackles.
The interesting point that you pointed out to me the other week that somebody else had made somewhere else, that if they took the helmets away, the game would be a safer game.
Potentially.
Yeah. Do that, by all means. I think that would be a brilliant thing to do for the game. Take the helmets away and see what happens. But with all the protective equipment people have got on, I don't think it's as bad. The helmets don't stop the concussions anyway. They know that. And I just think you let players play. If you know, once you start running, you're a running back, you can be levelled. It's your choice.
And I've got no problem with Josh Allen being levelled at that point in time.
Me neither. It won us the game.
Yeah. But do it legally. That's what I'm saying is do it legally. Don't lean with your head. He leant with his head. He got called for a penalty, so it was a penalty. He should have been ejected from the game.
It's never an ejection in a million years.
Well,
because of the other circumstances of the tackle. If it had just been him on his own, he would.
You mean Belichick standing on the sideline?
No, I mean whoever the other defender was that pushed the quarterback.
That's not the determining factor, though, is it? It's Belichick in his stupid little short-sleeved hoodie. That's what it is.
Can't defend the hoodie. I can't defend the hoodie.
The defining factor into why he didn't get ejected from the game, because he'll give out one of them death stares we talked about last week.
Well, I've often wondered this. Would you like to have Belichick as your coach?
Oh God, yes.
No.
Oh God, yeah.
I would.
So it's a jealousy factor.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Not Gary.
It's not a jealousy factor.
It's the same when.
How many wins a year is Belichick worth over? I don't know. Pick a random coach. Mike Zimmer. How many wins is Belichick solely responsible over Mike Zimmer?
I don't know, but
2
or 3.
Yeah. Okay. Just check. I agree. I think so. But
I am not. Belichick is a world-class coach. He's probably he is the best coach we've ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, he's the best one we've ever seen. He may not be the best one ever. Vince Lombardi was way before me. I gather he was very good.
He was good.
I remember a computer game being named after him.
Fair.
Madden's greatness
How boring
was
NFL Belichick. Just a spreadsheet.
Defense.
Do your job.
Just loads of defensive simulations. Special teams.
Every time you don't press the button he tells you to, you just get ejected from your own playroom. Off you go.
Just a picture of his head arrives on the screen, staring at you angrily.
Well, the console just shuts down. No, you've been booted out.
Your coach comes in to view some videos he's taken of the Bills this week.
Yeah. Well, it's when you get to do a mock press conference and it just says no comment, no comment, no comment.
Stare at woman.
Speaking of
Triangle.
Speaking of Belichick coaches, it was quite good fun to see Sean McDermott running off one of the Belichick sons from the sideline as he was watching the Bills warming up.
Fair play.
Yep.
Well, apparently there's nothing illegal about it.
No.
You can walk around the pitch while
Just
the
remember
opposition
though,
are warming
there's
up.
nothing illegal about it. And we're just watching my team Leeds, who got fined for that. So
Different sport, John. Different sport.
I'm still bitter. About it.
Speaking of Patriots coaches that have gone on to other places, the Lions, they've got a good defence, and they could have won another close game.
Do you know what they should have won?
They probably should have beaten.
Yeah.
They gave
Mahomes.
up what was it 4 times
Do you know
they gave
what?
up the ball in the
I'm
red zone?
taking sole responsibility for this.
Because you said they were going to be terrible.
No, because last week we discussed the fact that Mahomes was at 14 games with multiple touchdowns, and the record was 15.
Yep.
And we
Yeah.
said it was in his hands; he could just go on as long as he wanted to, and he threw for no touchdowns.
So the curse
He
of Gary
pooped the
strikes
bed
again.
in the touchdown
I
department.
haven't even got a Mahomes shirt.
However, this was a statement from the Lions, even though they lost, that actually we're here to be very competitive this year. I think Patricia's saved his job already, this point in the season. I think he's saved his job.
I think it's a statement for both teams. I think, you're right. The Lions prove that they can compete with any team now in the league, I expect, because they've got a good defence and they've got a decent running game as well now with Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a statement for the Chiefs because they've gone away to a hostile environment. They've not played well and they've still won.
Is it not just same old Chiefs though? Because they're now 11 games undefeated in the month of September.
Are they really?
We'll find out on Sunday.
They've also put up 25 points in 25 consecutive games, which is a league record.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
But if you think back the last 2 years, they always start extremely well.
Yeah.
They went 8-0. You know
That's true.
they
Even
do
under
tend
Alex
to-
Smith, they
Yeah.
did, yeah.
Both the last 2 games have been 2 favourites for their AFC, not playing to their best, both getting the win.
And that's the important thing.
That's what happens.
That's
Yeah,
what counts, right?
Form of championship contenders. That's why they'll probably be in the final game.
Yeah, the last unbeaten teams now in the AFC are the Chiefs and the Patriots. And let's be honest, we all probably think at this stage that the Chiefs and Patriots will come into power rankings later. The Chiefs and Patriots are going to be in the AFC Championship at this rate.
Yeah.
Was this the game where there were 5 fumbles in the third quarter, all within a few plays of each other?
There was four
consecutive
consecutives, and I think there was
It was a crazy game to watch. The Lions, I really felt, could have closed this out, but I'm pleased to see them playing so competitively when last year they just were bad. I think they finally changed the culture. I think that's what Patricia was doing.
Yep.
And maybe I certainly didn't give him credit for spending the time to do that. And hopefully the front office have seen what he's trying to do and they're sticking with it because
I'm sure
it
they
seems
will.
to be working. Kerryon Johnson, 26 carries for 125 yards. He's turned up. He's looking good. He's really
Strong Johnson there. Strong Johnson.
it's what you need. I still like what they've got in Hawkinson. He's not the first week's numbers.
Did you not see the hit?
he tried to jump in, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he got absolutely
laid out.
completely laid out, just tipped over.
I still think he's going to be a brilliant playmaker.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's
I
definitely
do
got
as
some
well.
things to learn. That is one of them.
Yeah, but I tell you what, you watch these hurdles and you do think
There's been a lot of them, haven't there?
someone's
There's
going to
been a
get
lot-
spun round
well,
soon.
there's a lot of tight end
They were
hurdles as
illegal
well.
for years, weren't they?
Well, they're
Because,
illegal at college level. You're not allowed
Yeah.
to do
No,
it at
you
college
can't do it.
football.
I do get the feeling we're possibly on the cusp of it becoming illegal because it's only they're
Dangerous to both players because you had the guy
Yeah.
with the cut on his head the other week, didn't you?
Yeah, Weddle.
And then this guy got flipped over. You could do some serious
Also-
damage.
and we've
How-
seen Hawkinson get smashed, and we've seen Davis. He got picked in the air the other week.
Yeah.
They're not. They're being found out.
But also to bring it to an area we can all sort of sympathise with a little bit. It's only going to be a while before somebody tries to hurdle somebody and the defender stands up a bit quicker than you thought, and you get helmet to helmet contact. It's going to do somebody some damage. And seriously, that's going to cause somebody a problem. Surely, a couple of times I've gasped, thinking, I hope he's got his cricket box on as well as all his pads. But it's only going to go that way. I think John's right. I think they'll just outlaw it. It's a bit like when they used to jump the line doing the kicks and things.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
It's going to be the same thing. I miss it, but it's
entertainment.
unnecessary play.
How close now is the NFC North? I'm just looking at it. You've got Green Bay and Chicago on 3-1, Detroit 2-1-1, and then Minnesota 2-2. This is a really tight division.
Certainly is. I think the Lions have made
traditionally always used to be.
Yeah, the Lions are making it more interesting than it may have been. Now,
and the Vikings are somehow at 2-2.
We're definitely getting onto them. Is it time to start appreciating Bruce Arians? What do we think? Should we be worrying more about Jared Goff or appreciating what Arians is getting out of Jameis Winston? Because Goff's been back.
Can I do both?
Well, yeah.
I don't think we should worry about Jared Goff. I think we should worry about the rushing game in Los Angeles.
Yeah, absolutely. That
11 attempts.
What rushing game?
Like, Jared Goff's going to throw for 517 yards if you tell him to throw 68 times.
That's 2 games worth of throwing.
Yeah.
That's 2 full games worth of throwing.
It's almost like McVay's just lost his head a little bit.
Ever since
the Super Bowl, he just seems to have got a little bit. As soon as Gurley got injured, in the playoffs last year, he just seems to have gone away from a real balanced attack. With all sorts going on, strength in the running games, some really good, strength, in the passing game, and he just seems to have just turned off to Gurley, not brought in enough behind him, and then just gone. We're just going to go through Goff and Cup, Goff and Cup, Goff, and Woods, and then we're just going to try a bomb to, it's Brandon Cooks. We'll just hope it works. It's all gone a little bit strange.
When we reviewed the NFC West, we said they had to manage Todd Gurley. They seem to be
ignoring him,
almost ignoring him. Like 5 carries for Todd Gurley. And yes, I know there are injury concerns there, but 5. Come on, this is a top 3 running back in the league. You don't give him 5 carries.
Why let CJ Anderson, 1,000-yard rushing, Super Bowl winning CJ Anderson, leave if you're not going to get what you need out of your lead running back?
Well, presumably they got confidence in Malcolm Brown. Early in the season, Malcolm Brown had a couple of games where he looked okay. He's not Todd Gurley, but he looked okay. So, and he only had 5 carries. I know they were chasing the game, but they weren't. They weren't chasing it in the fourth quarter. You can chase the game, but still
Todd Gurley.
Exactly. Still have a running game.
You should be able to. They clearly don't feel they can, but you should
be able to.
There was a couple of stats.
Do you think the Saints stop giving the ball to Kamara if they're behind?
No, of course not. No. Of course not. And I absolutely agree. Do you know Goff is only the 3rd quarterback for throw for 500 yards in a loss? Can you name the other 2? Anybody? I can't because I looked it up. No.
Ben Manning, Peyton.
No.
Kurt Schwarmer.
No.
Fitzgerald.
No. It's Matt Stafford. And Dan Marino. And they're the only 2 to have done it in the Super Bowl era.
Lost a lot.
Dan Marino did lose a lot. And Cooper Kupp's 29-yard receiving touchdown was in the 4th quarter of the 4th game, was the first Rams touchdown from outside the red zone this season. Last year at this point they had 6.
Yeah,
so the whole offense has gone a little bit impotent. I think McVay's just outthinking himself.
On the flip side, that to give up 55 points to Tampa, that defense is now you'd never imagine a Wade Phillips defense giving 55 points up to anyone.
The talent on it as well.
Let alone the Buccaneers. Come on.
Yeah, but
so
pick aside.
Well, Jameis is going to throw a pick every week. Let's not try and eliminate the fact he's always going to do that. I wrote in the notes here, basically, Jameis is just doing what Ryan Fitzpatrick does. He's going to have
quite what you wrote, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll find it's close enough. But effectively, he's going to be good for 6 or 8 games, and then he's going to go back to being Jameis again.
That's the risk. So I think the next couple of games are probably the big test for Jameis in terms of making sure that he carries on only throwing at most 1 pick a game. I thought some of the play calling from Bruce Arians on when was this game? Sunday night was excellent. I think Chris Godwin was brilliant, but they passed him in short situations again and then let him run after the catch, and he got a lot of yards that way. He had 172 yards off 12 receptions, which is astounding.
It's the most for a Tampa Bay player in a single game. 12 receptions.
I think they've finally figured. I think Winston's finally figured out that Mike Evans is still there, and I know he only had 4 catches, but in previous games he's been a bigger factor, and now teams are having to pay more attention to him, which has given Chris Godwin more space and more time to make more receptions. It's starting to work, but the most important thing, and we've spoken about this quite a lot spoken about this in this around this game. Tampa Bay have got a rushing game now.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. I was just
Peyton
looking up-
Barber
yeah.
has looked okay in games.
Ronald
Jones is the player we thought he was going to be last year.
We both picked him
Yeah.
last year, and then he was terrible.
He was really bad last year. I don't think he even...
We were just slightly ahead of our time.
Yeah.
Did he even get 100 yards last season?
Oh, I think
In
I
the whole
don't.
season.
I don't even think he
played.
had like 5 carries in a game last season.
No.
He was that bad in pre-season.
234 yards at 4.7 a carry. He threw 50 attempts this season. It's a massive improvement,
Yeah.
and that is exactly what they need.
And he looked good as well. It wasn't just like lots of bad, little bitty runs here and there. When he was running with the ball, he looked strong. He looked a completely different player to what we saw kind of beginning of last year. And they need that. And that's now given Winston more opportunity and probably more time in the pocket to throw.
Yeah. I although when Los Angeles got it back to 45-40, did you have the feeling that the Tampa Bay are going to Tampa Bay this and lose? Because
Did I think they were going to charger it? Yes.
yes,
Do you want to talk about Shaquille Barrett? He's already referring to himself as the sack master.
Well,
which-
he's got, 9 this year so far?
Yes, he's got 9 already, which is a lot more than the Broncos have already managed after letting him go.
Yeah.
That I do know. It's
Well,
impressive.
come on,
The
he's
whole
like-
Todd Bowles defence has been excellent.
Yeah. So Shaq Barrett, 9 sacks, an interception, and a pick 6 as well.
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, that's Defensive Player of the Year stats.
Well, he is leading the way at the moment.
Yeah.
He's got more than Von Miller, J.J. Watt, and T.J. Watt combined. Like, that's a hell of a find. And Todd Bowles really doing exactly what Bruce Arians needs. Let Arians look after the offense. Let Arians put the arm around Winston and get that ball going down the field to the right team, and just allow Todd Bowles to do what he should do. Don't forget, Todd Bowles' defence at the Jets was good.
It was good.
They just couldn't do anything on offense.
It was also good at the Cardinals when he worked with Arians as defensive coordinator.
which is what
there.
got him the Jets job.
Yeah.
So this is an example of some people. We were saying with Bill Belichick, do your job. Well, Todd Bowles, don't try and be a head coach. Do your job. You are one of the top 5 defensive coordinators in the league. Go and do your job. You are brilliant at it.
Fair enough. Well, should we move on to the Panthers? They beat Houston 16-10.
Yeah.
Carl Allen playing all right. Well,
Yeah,
playing
don't need
really
to rush
well.
Cam back, which is the
No.
thing. I wouldn't
Playing
be
better
surprised
than
if...
Cam.
yeah.
Would anyone be surprised if Cam sits out another 6 weeks, at least?
I think he might sit out the season.
And it might be the best thing if he does, but...
Whilst Carl Allen's playing as well as he is, there's no reason to put
Might
Cam
as well
back
just
in,
let
is there?
Cam go shopping.
It seems to have given Christian McCaffrey more life as well. I mean, he had a...
He's
did
given
you
the
see
whole
that?
team.
I don't know. I think he's just a ridiculous
Yeah.
player.
Oh, he's ridiculously good.
You know.
Did you see that catch where he kind of
Bobbled
bobbled
with
it?
himself,
Those,
yeah.
drugs
In-
pulsing
yeah.
through his veins. I think he just feels he can do anything.
Allegedly.
It's another game, though, where on the other side, Deshaun Watson got sacked 6 times. So they brought in a left tackle.
Because
but-
Laramie Tunsil does not a whole line
Yeah,
make.
exactly.
It's and it is the way that Deshaun Watson plays as well. He holds onto the ball and holds onto the ball.
He's looking for those... What we said about Baker Mayfield, he's looking for those superstar players all the time. Just get the check down.
Yeah.
Get it
Can't
out.
do that against a defense like the Panthers.
No, it's a good defense, a really good defense this year. It's Ron Rivera's taken over the defensive calling, and it's playing really well. And we'll talk about it in the power rankings, but I've got them as a strong.
You've got them much higher than me.
yeah.
I haven't discussed mine with anybody
Just
yet.
because I'm, it's,
Well, you
it's
guys
only,
were late, so we're chatting
It's
about
only, it's
it.
only,
Yeah,
it's only
well.
you're at McDonald's, very American.
This podcast isn't sponsored by them, but if they wanted to sponsor us, they could. That'd be fine.
Other fast food
Uh,
restaurants are available.
The Seahawks
Unless they
benefiting.
sponsor us, which case they
Seahawks benefiting from the Rams' problems and crushing the Cardinals 27-10. It wasn't really this close either. The Cardinals, they just
A lot of
Well,
turnovers.
there's so much promise. There's so much promise, and it's almost there, and then it just doesn't quite appear once the game gets going.
Murray's on his way to getting killed, though. He's on course for 80 sacks
Yeah.
this season so far.
It's a shame they could really damage him.
Yeah, because he's only little.
Yeah, well, absolutely. He's
Talented though, he is talented.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
he's
can see
really
that it's
accurate as
there.
well.
When he can actually see to the player,
Yeah.
if he can find a little gap to look through, he can really
So
throw
yeah,
the ball.
he's on course for 80 sacks, but he's also on course for 4,000 yards passing season if he carries on at the same rate. I know we're only
That's
4
at the
games
Cardinals.
in it. That's at the Cardinals, yeah. So, he's doing all right. He's only thrown 4 touchdowns so far, though.
yeah,
But,
it's been a lot of field goals when they do score. the rest of the AFC South, you were talking about competitive divisions a few minutes ago. So the Titans beat the Falcons 24-10.
I'm amazed you haven't given this a bit more time.
What, AFC
Well-
South?
No, the Falcons.
We spoke about them last week.
They are dog awful.
They are bad.
They are dog awful. They
I
are.
can't. It's going to be the same every week. I think they are just not good.
But it's everybody now. I was defending Matt Ryan. I still think he's really good, but
He's awful.
nothing going on there at all.
His completion rate is over 70% so far for the year, but he's throwing so many interceptions compared to previous
as he
year.
threw in the
Yeah.
whole of last
Probably
season.
7 or something. Now?
Yeah.
And again, no rushing game.
No, they got nothing there. The Titans, they turned up. This is the same Titans as we see every year. They turn up one week, they don't turn up the next. Now, the Colts lost to the Raiders, 31-24, which leaves everybody in the AFC South on 2-2 through 4 weeks. First time it's ever happened in any division.
I think they just started cold in this game, the Colts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
did.
they never
and,
got going, did they?
They were too far down.
And then,
Yeah,
and
by
then
the time they
Brissett
started
slung
playing.
the interception at the end. Was it a pick six, I think, at the end?
Yeah.
Because they were chasing. But I don't think they should lose heart. The division's so close that they're in it, but they need to be faster off the line. You're absolutely right. They were 14 points down in no time at all, like 7
Against
minutes.
the Raiders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
against the Raiders. Now, we were discussing illegal hits. Vontez Burfict banned for the year. Anybody want to say that that's too harsh?
Me?
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
And me? Oh, good. Christ
Yeah.
alive. We're all on this.
Well, he can still go. He can still go to an independent appeal. So
Yeah.
the chances are that
It'll
will
get
get reduced.
overturned. It's going to be 8 games.
I don't think it'll overturn. It'll get reduced.
Yeah, well, previously he's had bans reduced
Yeah.
as well on
Yeah.
appeal. I think, I think I said on the group, didn't I? I said, you get a longer ban for this, and it was nasty.
It was egregious. It was
Don't-
bad.
Oh yeah,
Don't
it was
get me
bad.
wrong,
No one
but
can disagree with
you
that.
get
one.
a lot less for hitting a woman without a helmet on.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. As much as that's a sensitive subject, no, you are right to say that. How can the NFL say, "Oh, you've hit this guy who's fully padded up and it's disgusting
paid to be on the field."
which it is, but we're gonna ban you for longer than if you struck your partner on film
Multiple times.
multiple times." Yeah.
Allegedly.
Well, no. Josh
on
Brown.
film.
Kareem Hunt?
John Brown or Josh Brown?
John Brown,
John
the
Brown.
kicker.
The kicker got banned one game.
One game. Various people. The NFL don't do themselves any favours, is what I'm getting at. We all know Vontez Burfict is a bit of a dick on the field, and no one likes him. The fact that he was blowing kisses as as he was escorted off the field.
He lined him up, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely lined him up.
But
He saw that tight end and thought, I'm putting my helmet in there.
He's being banned for being perfect, isn't he? We all remember
Yes, he is, yeah.
the hit on Brown a few years ago that actually
Knocked
cost them
him out, yeah.
but it cost them a playoff game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
You know,
Now, I like watching him, like I said, but this was bad. This is how you permanently injure someone.
yeah.
And this is the difference between the tackle earlier and
He
this
still
one.
played quite well for the rest of the game, though, didn't he, Jack Doyle?
I don't know. I thought he was dead after this. he came out afterwards and said, "I got tackled. I don't know what the fuss is about." But that's because he's like, that's the man up attitude, isn't it? You can't come out and
bullshit.
go, "I feel terrible." But I can't. I think Burfict's going to end up with like an 8-game ban, which is 4 less than what's left in the rest of the season. And I would say, bearing in mind he's been fined or banned 13 times.
He's lost $4 million in his career to
It's
bans.
crazy, isn't it? You've really got to enjoy hitting people to lose $4 million.
$4 million, yeah. That's a lot of money, isn't it?
I wouldn't let him hit me for $4 million. He would kill me. But the Raiders 2-2 going to their London trip. A very fake 2-2, I feel. But
Yeah, I'm not
2-2, nonetheless, what can you say?
Hang on, who they're playing in London?
The Bears.
Bears.
Yeah, they're not
Well,
winning that.
The Raiders are here already. The Bears come over on Friday.
It doesn't make any difference with the Bears' defense.
Suppose not. So in Chicago, Mitchell Trubisky is hurt and will miss a week or two. The Bears' D was dominant again, though, as they harassed Cousins and dismissed the Vikings 16-6. Quarterback controversy time. Should both these teams be making quarterback changes to help their defenses win easier?
Yes. Absolutely, yes. Chase Daniel is going to outplay Mitchell Trubisky over a couple of games that he's in, and then they should stick with him. Do you remember, Jim might be the only one here that remembers this, 2013, Jay Cutler got injured, and Josh McCown came in and had the best 4-game stretch by a Bears quarterback since the 50s, and then they immediately brought Jay Cutler back and flopped and didn't make the playoffs. Now, if Chase Daniel comes in and performs better than Mitchell Trubisky, which wouldn't be hard because Mitchell Trubisky is not playing very well, why on earth would Matt Nagy say, yeah, put the kid back in? Why would you do that? If Chase Daniel is an efficient game manager who doesn't turn the ball over, why would you go back to Mitch Trubisky at the moment?
That's all Chicago need is an efficient game manager because they're not, excuse me, with Mitchell Trubisky or Chase Daniel, they're probably not going to score more than 20 points a game, realistically, because the running game's not brilliant. It's more effective than some of the others we've been talking about this evening. But on the flip side, that defense is probably good enough to keep most teams down to 15, 16, 17 points. So winning 20-17 every week, if that's how you want to go, great. Chase Daniel's got the benefit of he's worked with Matt Nagy both in Chicago but also in Kansas as well. So he knows the system. He was able to come in. He was able to perform pretty well. 22 completions off 30 pass attempts, 195 yards. These aren't stellar stats, but he didn't throw an interception, and that's the most important thing.
They're efficient stats.
Yeah. Like, that's all we want when you've got a defense that's good, and when you've got Khalil Mack absolutely
Alex
abusing quarterbacks.
Smith-esque, isn't it?
It's exactly.
It is.
Who did he back up before?
Alex Smith-esque in when he was good, they took him to the NFC Championship game.
Alex Smith-esque wins games for this Bears team.
Yeah.
Alex Smith on this Bears team, they would be amazing. Can you imagine how good they would be? Trubisky's still got a future. It's just he's not progressing and he's in the spotlight all the time because people know the Bears window is now.
He's had a bad start to the season. So let's give him a break maybe. Let Chase Daniel take over, and then maybe later in the season he comes back in and performs a bit better.
I absolutely think it's the right thing for them to do. And we will see. He's out. It's a partially torn labrum and a dislocated shoulder. They're saying only a few weeks and no surgery.
A couple of weeks.
6 probably, I'd guess.
Yeah,
that many.
If I dislocated my shoulder and got a partially torn labrum, that'd be me done for the year.
Well, it depends on how easy it goes back in, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm sorry. All right.
Moving on.
So with the Vikings, though, whilst I think Kirk Cousins should be immediately kicked out of the team for being rubbish, they don't have it as easy. Their backup is Sean Mannion, who has one career start for the Rams a couple of years ago. And the only bonus to having Sean Mannion on the team is he was coached by McVay for a couple of years, which seems to be enough to get other people jobs, so why not him?
Yeah, but he's not going for the head coaching job.
No, he's not. The problem here is the receivers have now come out and said, somebody's going to have to throw us the ball. We can't, even with our running back, we can't win every
Adam
week.
Adam Thielen came out and said,
we can't
we can't
down the field.
We can't just win on a running game. If the running game's not working, we need to have a passing game, which is fair enough.
Yes, it's fair criticism, I would say.
Kirk Cousins wasn't brilliant. I mean, actually, his stat line doesn't read too bad. The only problem is he hasn't got any touchdowns, but he got sacked 6 times.
Again. Now, that's not all on him. Let's be fair. We all
some
know
of it,
it's about the
on
O-line.
Khalil Mack.
Yeah, and the fact that they were playing the Bears. But he is another one who holds on to the ball for long.
Again, it's the same as Deshaun Watson, isn't it? He's looking for... I don't think it is the same as Deshaun Watson, because I think Deshaun Watson's looking for that superstar play. I think Kirk Cousins doesn't trust himself. And he's looking for...
I don't trust him either. So that's
and he's looking for gaps in coverage, or he's looking for more separation than perhaps what's needed for those receivers that he's got, because he's got 2 brilliant receivers. Stephen Diggs and Adam Thielen probably walk on to most other teams as wide receiver 1 and 2.
He is paid as he's either in the top. He's in the top 6 quarterbacks paid, and he is easily number 6.
This is the problem now for the Vikings, in that he's in the second year of a 3-year contract, which is fully guaranteed, something like $85 million.
Yeah.
So realistically, they can't dump him after this year because there's still another 25 odd million for him to pay. They can't trade him because no one's going to pick up that contract for Kirk Cousins. The only way to realistically get rid of him is either to cut him and have a rookie quarterback next year, or do what the Texans did with Jadeveon Clowney, trade him and pay some of his wage, or do what the Texans did with... strange coincidence. Do what the Texans did with Brock Osweiler when they sent him to the Cleveland Browns and a second round pick.
Yeah, basically said, take this off our hands.
Yeah.
How damaged is he from last year, though? He got sacked 40 times last year. He got sacked 41 times the year before.
Yeah, probably a lot damaged, I would imagine. But if you're that, he should be throwing the ball quicker, not holding on to it.
I'd rather he throw the ball more and throw 1 or 2 interceptions. Because I think at the moment, at least if he's trying, then the receivers could probably get behind him. I think he's in danger. He's in massive danger of losing that locker room.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he's probably regressed slightly.
He's not been the same quarterback in
You're
Minnesota.
normally.
Can you know? Has there been one? You remember when he was at the Redskins, he came out with that. You like that?
Yeah.
Can you remember the one you like that moment he's had for the Vikings in the last 2 years?
No, I cannot.
He's just not, and he's had better receivers in Minnesota than he ever had with the Redskins.
The difference is there was no expectation at the Redskins. He was taken several rounds after RG3, and RG3 had failed due in part to what was happening at the Redskins and the injuries and things. And Kirk Cousins had no pressure on him. So he's gone to the Vikings as, at the time, the top paid quarterback. There's all this pressure on him, and he's what's holding the team back.
And also, he went there just after the Vikings had a really good playoff run, and everyone was saying the missing piece is a quarterback.
Yeah, I think I think you have to put it in perspective. I think sometimes some people around this table like to jump on a media storm and get on the back of people a little bit.
It's a 2-year media storm.
I like
Gary.
to give people a chance, and I think I've shown that over the years. But so Kirk Cousins has got a career quarterback rating of 94.8, which is not a bad rating at all. His touchdowns to interceptions. So he's thrown 132 touchdowns to 67 interceptions. That's pretty well controlled.
Yep.
But what you see is his average yards is only 7.6. So he's not a Hollywood quarterback. He's an Alex Smith level quarterback.
And that would be fine if he was as good as Alex Smith.
And that's where I think he's regressed a bit over the last 2 years. But I do wonder how that has been affected by those stats.
Exactly who he is, right? So you've given the stats, and I knew that's what you'd do because that's your go-to. So let's see if you can tell me who this player is. 128 touchdowns to 57 interceptions, so good, fairly good. 63.2% completion, very nearly a 90 quarterback rating, 89.7, I think it is on
5% less.
Yeah, all right, yeah, and. Exactly the same number of playoff victories as Kirk Cousins.
You can't lay that on him. He's at the Redskins for like 7 years.
Well, you wait and see who this is. They've both played 82 games in the league. Who is this other quarterback?
Andy Dalton?
More or less. It's Derek Carr.
Right.
Now,
both getting paid.
They're both getting paid, and both not good enough. They're both not good enough. If you said Derek Carr's coming in at the Vikings, everyone would laugh at you.
Well, I think they would now, but I think 3 years ago, people were very excited about Derek Carr before he got injured.
Yeah, they were. That's fair.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe that's a bad example.
I'd probably take Derek Carr over Kirk Cousins.
90.5%. A 90.5 quarterback rating, 63.2% completion percentage, 76 touchdowns to slightly more 42 interceptions. Less fumbles, 35 to 46. Kirk Cousins fumbles a lot.
Does
46.
fumble a lot, but he gets sacked a lot.
And more playoff victories than Kirk Cousins in fewer games, 22 fewer games, just 60 games. Who is this quarterback?
Case Keenum?
It is not Case Keenum.
Marcus Mariota?
Marcus Mariota is a better quarterback who wins more playoff games than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is done as a star quarterback at the Vikings. I rest my case.
He won't be done because he gets paid too much money and they can't move on from it.
Like I said, he'll probably be around next year, but then it's back up
Delighted
City.
I didn't waste all my time on it. Just so you know, I did also have Case Keenum on here. he is 62.5%. Only it was the quarterback rating that I didn't give you. 85.1 for Case Keenum. So it's a bit down,
too low,
but one more playoff victory than Kirk Cousins.
Superb pancakes.
And superb pancakes.
That's his wife.
That's the bracket he's in. Derek Carr, Case Keenum, Marcus Mariota. Because I went on Pro Football, whatever, typed in Kirk Cousins and found the quarterbacks that most closely resemble his career.
20 months ago, you'd have married Mariota, so just shows how things change.
Yeah. Just remember.
That is true.
Just remember what happened when I did get married.
If you listen back, that is what happened.
Yeah, no, I agree. And now he may well get replaced by Ryan Tannehill, but the Titans are still in the hunt at the moment, so they won't make a change yet.
The Vikings are still in the hunt as well, like we said earlier. They're still 2-2. I reckon they could. Again, that division, the NFC North, could be really tight. I think all four teams are going to be in it right up into the end.
So you need a difference-making quarterback.
Yes.
And you don't have one.
Not in Minnesota
Not positively different, anyway. I'm so glad I didn't waste my time earlier looking that up.
Well, let's move on to the Saints, who, without Drew Brees, took on the Cowboys and came out on top in a closely fought 10-12 battle. The Saints haven't lost since without Breeze. Sean Payton seems to have a scheme in place to get them the victories. Michael Thomas still gets it done.
Does the scheme include the fact that they've still got lots of amazing players?
Yeah,
It certainly does.
That helps.
I'm not going to say they aren't missing a beat.
I could throw for that offense. I think it would still be okay.
Yeah.
I'll just throw it 5 yards to Kamara, 10 yards to Jared Cook.
John, let's see if you can remember what year was it when the Saints last won consecutive games without Drew Brees under centre?
2006.
2004.
Piss.
I only told you yesterday. You don't listen to a word I say. Can you remember? Can you remember the name of the guy who? No, of course you can't.
No, I can't.
I think it was Brooks.
Obviously, yeah, it must have been Brooks.
Obviously, that quarterback. So, Teddy Bridgewater effectively is just being asked to stand in the pocket and distribute the ball to Kamara and Michael Thomas. Yeah. And what is wrong with that?
Isn't that what most quarterbacks should do
Nothing.
in that situation?
Nothing, yeah.
Absolutely.
And actually, it'd be interesting to see if Teddy Bridgewater can use this opportunity, to play 4 to 6 games, improve that confidence, and really push to stay at the Saints for this year, next year, and then look to take over from Breeze. Because if they can get him fit and confident in his actual performance as well, I think he could be.
Yeah, I mean his
future.
I think his contract runs until the end of this year. So, and this is the perfect audition for him for that starting role. If he does do a decent job, then yeah, why not let him take over? I think he's still a talented quarterback.
Saints defence deserves a lot of praise.
I was just about to say that.
Also, for something that happened to find while I was looking things up, how many games since they allowed a 100-yard rusher?
Oh,
7,
8,
9,
30. 30 games
Wow.
they allowed a 100-yard rusher.
Remember that for fantasy. Do not pick running backs against the Saints.
Yeah.
that is a
to
crazy stat.
To keep Zeke to 35 yards, 1.9 yards per attempt is.
He did get a touchdown though.
Got a touchdown, yeah, but that's
and a couple of
outstanding.
receiving yards as well.
What do we think of the Tyron Smith injury? The last time he missed any time for the Cowboys, Zeke's production dipped, Dak was rubbish.
It's not great.
Well, they're saying it's not as bad as an ankle sprain, but not as bad as they first thought.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley's got a high ankle sprain as well, and they're saying he's out for six to 8 weeks.
He does a lot of running. Whether it's different for... I'm not saying that it's...
Yeah, no, he does do a lot of running.
But a lot
you're
of weight
absolutely right.
on that ankle, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you think about an offensive tackle, there's a lot of weight that they're trying to stop defensive.
That's a huge problem for
I think it's massive. I also think, anyone on the NFL UK Facebook page will know that Cowboys fans like to give it a little bit of all this. You can't see me making the mouthy signs.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. Why are they doing puppetry?
Puppetry, yeah. The Saints were the first proper team they played this year.
Yeah, they were.
And they've lost. They lost
by 2 points, though. I'm not going to bash them for losing
They lost by 2
to the
points
Saints.
to a team that got a backup quarterback. No matter what you say about Bridgewater, he's their backup quarterback.
He's played 3 times in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and the offense didn't fire. It's the first time that it's not fired this year, and they've played a decent defense and they've got beaten.
It is
they've only scored 10 points.
The Niners are one of only 3 teams undefeated.
They're the only NFC team that are undefeated.
Yeah, they are indeed.
Amazing how helpful a bye in week 4 is.
Isn't it great?
I'm definitely not prepared to slaughter the Cowboys. Dak was bound to... It's a bit like Lamar Jackson. They're bound to come up against a defence that's better than they are as a quarterback, but they're not going to play the Saints' defence every week. Most games, Dak's going to do enough. Zeke did nothing to help him because of the Saints.
I still think the Cowboys will probably be in the playoffs at the end of the year. All I'm saying is, this is the first good team they played, and it's first test, and they failed. Jason Witten's the top receiver of 50 yards. Old man Witten.
Was that the first time in his career? I think it was. The first time he's led the Cowboys in receiving yards.
Yeah, and that's because they can only get, Blake Jarwin.
Oh, no.
49 yards.
51st time he's led them in receiving yards. Wow. That's crazy.
Well, I think this year you're definitely seeing a return to the strength of the NFC versus the AFC. Last year, the NFC did not have a good year. So there's a few teams that have bounced back a bit so far this year. It'd be interesting to see how that pans out at the end of the season.
I'll be surprised. I mean, we're going to go through our rankings in a minute. I'll be surprised if any of us have anyone else other than the Patriots and Chiefs 1 and 2 in the NFL.
Funny you should mention that.
So I think the AFC have got the best top two teams, but I think there's a drop off.
And the Chargers have dropped off this year.
Yeah, they have.
Well, let's move on. Let's do the power rankings. And funny you should mention that. One person doesn't have the
for
Patriots
God's
in the
sake.
top 2.
Oh God!
Oh,
me
shut
again.
up.
Just get out. Get out.
Me again.
Why?
I don't
Because
remember
he's-
exactly what I put the Chiefs at 1.
Chiefs at 1. I have the Chiefs at 1.
And I have the Saints at 2 because I think they're
With
brilliant
no
even
Drew
with the
Brees.
backup. It's made no difference.
I'm sorry.
It's made some.
Even with Drew Brees, the Patriots are a better team than the Saints.
Are they? Why?
Yeah.
Patriots' offense is not great.
It's been pretty decent. It's only that last week they haven't put up a lot of points.
And they have one game a year where Brady looks
Average.
like an old man, the offense struggles, and then
Everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, Brady's in
Plus,
decline. They're not
the
going to playoffs.
schedule is so easy at the
It
moment.
is. By the way, I've been
And
very
that-
up on the Patriots, and
I
I've
think
not
the Patriots.
bemoaned
I think it's
Brady
probably the best Patriots defense we've seen in years.
15 years.
Yeah, this is an awesome
I'm just
defense.
saying, I think the Saints' offense would outmatch our defense, so I'll put them higher.
Well, you're wrong.
With
Yeah,
that,
I
and
agree with
that's
you.
perfectly
He's
fair.
still, you've got him at number 3.
It's not like I put them at like 8, like I did this time last year.
I think a few of us did last. They'd lost, hadn't they? At this point last
They
year.
were 2 and 2, I think.
Yeah, they've hit the ground running this year, haven't they? Someone has this. Then it is generally the Bears. Quite. Some people have them at 3. I mean, Gigilo.
What are the overall rankings, John? Give us the first 4 or 6, and then we'll discuss who put them where.
Maybe the top 10.
Yeah,
Let's go top
or
10.
maybe the top 10. What do you think? Who have we got? Because you're the only one with the full
Yeah.
remit in front of you.
So at number 1 is the Chiefs,
Dun, dun.
because someone put the Patriots
yeah.
otherwise they'd be exactly the same. So then it's
So
the
it's the
Patriots, then the Saints, then we have, because of averages, we have the Packers,
I put them at 4.
I had them at 5.
I had them at 6.
5. We then have
You've got the Packers above the Bears.
the
Yeah.
Rams, then the Rams,
Oh, no, I didn't put them up. No,
No, I had them at 3. I think they're going to come back.
I had the Seahawks above the Rams.
I had the Rams at 8.
then the Bears.
I had them at 6.
I had them at
11.
You really don't like defense, do you?
I had them at 3. Their defense is amazing.
Yeah.
Their defense is amazing, but they haven't got a quarterback. Well, not yet. We'll see what Chase Daniel does.
If Chase Daniel is the answer,
Their
then
defense,
the question is
their
whether
defense was this good, if not better, last year, and they didn't win anything. So
they had a bad matchup in the
neither did
playoffs.
31 other teams.
They had a bad
30
matchup in the
other teams.
playoffs. Otherwise, I think they'd have been in the. I think they'd have probably taken LA in the NFC Championship game.
fair enough.
They just
I feel like we need Top of the Pops rundown music.
Then it's the Cowboys.
I had the Cowboys at 8.
No, I had them at 8.
5.
7.
5, Griff. That's high. That is.
I think
Yeah.
they're a really good team.
Then Seahawks, 49ers, and the Bills.
No
Wow,
Eagles in
not-
the top 10.
No, not yet.
Where were the Seahawks?
Because they're about 8th. Because I'm going on
The
average.
Ravens. People didn't have the Ravens in the top 10.
I put them at Ravens in the top 10.
I had them 9th.
I had
No,
9th.
I
had
had
well
them-
outside that.
I had them at 12.
I had the Niners at 12.
I had them at 13, the Ravens. Oh, I had the Niners above. I think I had,
Niners
Nah.
at 10.
They haven't done enough yet.
I had them at 6.
I had the Ravens.
Wow. Where
I-
did that come from?
I'll tell you where that comes from because I've been really impressed with the defence.
Did you just
say
look
I
at the
don't like-
standings and forgot that we've...
No. I saw that you'd only played 3 games and that they've not been great opposition, but the defence...
The defence is a
considering you
lot
just said I don't like
different.
them, defence looks amazing and the offence will only get better.
I think it'd be a really interesting match
I
Monday
think
night
it's too
football.
early to put them that high.
It is too early, but I think that speedy defense, that powerful pass rush of the 49ers going against an offensive line that's the Browns, which we've discussed, is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're 4-0. John,
Where did everyone have the Browns out of interest?
I had them.
I had them 19.
Oh, I had them 19th as well.
19. Griff had them at 16,
Obviously,
which gave them an average. They are 17th-ish.
About a bottom 5.
I was going to say bottom.
bottom 5. Come on, everyone put the Dolphins last, right?
Dolphins last.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
we have agreement. Well done.
Not everyone put the Redskins next.
No,
I put the Broncos at 31. I think they've been quite pony.
no, I think
And they've got no Chubb.
I had them at 30.
I had the Broncos.
knowing that they've
I had
lost
the
their
Broncos
chance.
as the best of the teams that haven't won. So they
I
were
had them
at
even
27th.
I had them higher than that, 25th.
Mm.
Oh wow!
So
I had the Skins at 30.
32 is Dolphins, 31 Redskins, 30 Bengals, 29 Jets, 28 Broncos. Above them, the Cardinals.
You didn't
Then-
nobody had the Falcons crashing, no?
Then it's the
I had
Falcons,
them at 25.
I had the
Well
Falcons
down.
at 24.
26, and Griffiths at 28.
What was the most surprising one for you, John, out of all of the things? Because you've got all that data in front of you. I mean, I'd like to know where people have put teams like the Lions and the Bucks.
Yeah, that was hard.
So-
That middle order's really
so I
hard
had
at
the
the
Lions
moment.
at 14 and I had the Bucks at 22.
I had them at 12 and 13.
Wow,
Lions
did you
and
just
Bucks.
copy me? I had the Lions at 14 and Bucks at 22 as well.
I had the Lions at 13 and the Bucks at 22.
Oh, you had the Bucks well down then compared to...
I'm yet to be.
Convinced, yeah.
You're not going to score 55 points every week, and if you're conceding 40 points a lot.
Streaky is
You'd
the
need
word.
to.
Yeah.
Absolutely, which is
Yeah.
why I think the Fitzmagic experience is back.
Once you get past the first 7 and the bottom 5, it's pretty much
What
muchness.
what did people make of the Vikings? I think I might have had them a lot lower than everybody else.
18.
17th.
20 and
And-
you're 23.
23. I'm not convinced.
I still
Like
think they've
this-
still got an amazing defense. They've still got an amazing running game. So they'll win more games.
Just remind me who's letting them down.
The quarterback.
Okay, just checking.
So do you want to
Potential.
guess which teams have the biggest difference between us four?
Go for it, John.
Ravens.
Yeah.
So we've already mentioned
Jaguars?
it. The Bucks.
Bills?
Then, nope. Ravens, Panthers,
Mm.
Ooh.
I'm
Bears.
behind the Panthers.
because you've
'Cause
gone
I hate them.
you've gone 11.
I
We've gone
went really
3.
low on the Panthers as well. I had them at 21.
Oh, 13.
Yeah, 14.
14.
Yeah.
Ravens.
that's
Ravens go from 9th to 17th.
Who had them
Where
at
did
17?
everybody have the
Who do you
Bills?
think had them
I
at
had,
17th?
I had the Bills at 13. Because I think their defenses look really good.
Yeah, which is why I had them at 7.
I had them at 9.
I had them at 8.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
because the
wow.
defence is really good.
Well, I really like Josh Allen as well. He turns the ball
They've
over a
played
lot, and he's
played
currently
some-
got his head ringing
They've
inside
played
his
some
helmet.
pretty poor teams to
I
start the season.
think
Giants and Jets.
yeah.
Giants
that's
with
cool.
Eli.
Yeah, that's true. But
That
then
is
they
very
also held Brady to a
I know,
really
but
low.
they still
held
played the
Pa-
Giants
yeah,
and
but they held
the Jets.
the Patriots. They could have won that game against the Patriots.
They played the Dolphins twice. They played the Jets, twice.
Did anyone not rank the AFC South teams together in a big clump? Because I did. I had Texans, Jags, Colts, Titans in that order. But I could have
I
just put them
had-
in any order you like.
I had Texans, Jags, Titans in a row.
I
Yeah,
went
they're quite close on mine as
Panthers, Colt. No,
Panthers?
no. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong South.
No, I actually had Texans, Jags, Titans, yeah, and then
Where did you have the Colts? Way down.
I had the Colts on 20th, so just another 2 away from that
well.
cluster.
Colts, Texans, Jaguars, Titans. I had the Colts at 15.
Oh, really?
Still
I
feeling-
went low on the Titans just because I'm
'Cause it's
just,
the
I'm
Why
Titans.
just
would you not?
reverting to mean.
You've been taught to tackle properly and you like to go low. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But other than that, Seahawks, once again, there's a massive difference. Someone's gone 4th, someone's gone 11th.
That was me. I went high on the Seahawks.
Yeah, I went low because I fucking hate them.
I don't like them, but I think they look good.
I don't think they look good at all.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised. I think the defense looks better than I thought it would be.
They're a whisker away to losing to the Bengals,
Yeah, but that's one game. They've got Russell Wilson.
and they got beaten by the Saints at home with their backup quarterback.
Most consensus is on the Dolphins, the Skins, the Cardinals, and the Giants, who we all had pretty low. And the Browns, they're once again, everyone's got them in between, just sitting just below midway. Other than that, it's
This one's always difficult, though.
Yeah, the first one is always tricky, and it will be a massive turnaround by the time we get to week
But
9.
well, I think if you our first one last year, the movement in some teams move like 12, 15 places.
I remember the Broncos going into the bye last year were they 3-0? They were very good, and then after the bye they just lost.
Yeah,
Loads.
they were about 6
Yeah.
this time last year.
That's what I'm worried about. The 49ers
Was it
going
last
to
year or the year
bye.
before we did this, and the Chargers started the season 0-3, and we did our first power ranking, and everyone had them way down in the 20s, and then by the end of the season they were right up. They'd done a really good job. So it's really hard to tell. It's far too early, really, but it's nice just to get ourselves up and running to see what we're all thinking.
Well, let us know what you think of our power rankings on social media. Maybe you're a Dolphins fan prepared to defend your team, in which case, no.
Stop.
Maybe you're a Bills fan demanding slightly less respect than we've given you.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought I'd have them the highest, but no.
And yeah, maybe you just think Griff having the Bears at 11th is ridiculous. But
Griff having the Patriots at 3 is ridiculous.
Griff having an opinion apparently is ridiculous.
Always, but
He seemed to think that Patriots hit was legal somehow as well.
but that's us for another
It
week.
wasn't legal, it was a penalty.
I meant it wasn't ejection worthy, but yeah.
The London games begin this week with Bears and the Raiders visiting the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, or is it White Hart Lane?
Well,
I don't know.
We've
what
had
it's
a
called.
very an NFL type score there tonight, and we're not. They've lost 2-7.
Yeah.
That's a safety and a touchdown. Well done, Tottenham.
So if you're going, give us a shout. Let us know what you think about the game. Remember to get in touch via social media. We are at Twitter at the Snap UK. We're on the Facebook at the Snap UK podcast.
The Facebook.
Subscribe to us wherever you listen, and of course, give us reviews
And
as
money.
well.
Don't forget money.
And, yeah. But thank you and good night, and we'll see you next week.